Now then, you may have noticed in the corridor out there an installation called 96 elephants. And that basically refers to the number of elephants that will be killed, basically, during the time of this conference. It takes us to the very, very important issue of the crossroads that conservation is at with travel. How is the travel industry actually helping conservation? Can other practices be considered so the power of one helps the other? To talk about that, she's been on already on the panel, Budge. She's the founder of international non-profit How Many Elephants and co-founder of World Female Ranger Day, which is a brilliant thing. You saw her, as I said just now on the panel. She's a world-class adventurer who's been to great lengths and heights, including to the summit of Everest, to raise awareness and funds for conservation. She's patrolled on the front line with all-female ranger teams in Africa. I've seen some of the interviews, and I've actually talked to her about these teams. I think it's a brilliant story, make a brilliant documentary film, and possibly more. And I know there's been lots of media attention about it. Holly's work has been praised by Sir David Attenborough, and His Royal Highness Prince Edward described her as incredibly inspiring. And she is here today to talk about conservation's crossroads with travel. So please welcome Holly Budge.
Thank you. Thanks, Rajan. So thank you, Rajan, and thank you to A World for Travel for inviting me here today, and to the Global Travel and Tourism Resilience Council too. It should be a PowerPoint, but I can carry on. That's fine. Okay. So Earth is, for now, a human planet, even though we share it with millions of wild animals and wild plant species, which our survival depends upon for fresh air, healthy soil, and our food. And of course, fresh water. We are a force of nature. We have impacted over 75% of the Earth's land surface. Species are facing extinction 100 times, 1,000 times the natural rate because of us. We have the power to halt global warming. We have the power to stop the industrial scale killing of wild animals and protect indigenous people. Right now is an extraordinary time to be alive. We may become the first species to document our own extinction, but we could also be the first species to prevent a mass extinction. I think we need to transform our relationship with nature. In 2020, the global economy collapsed with the outbreak of COVID-19, thought to have originated from a wild animal. I ask you today to consider, what have we learned from the pandemic? Hopefully we have learned that no problem is too far away to not affect us. Whether we're talking about COVID-19, biodiversity loss, or climate change, it all reflects our fragile relationship with nature. It affects us all, ultimately. The pandemic has shown us the importance of working together and how quickly we can mobilise, adapt, and change when we have to. You know your industry better than anyone else. Oh, it's gone again. There we go. You know that the travel and tourism industry should have a truly vested interest in protecting wildlife, indigenous people, and wild spaces, and should engage in conservation efforts. The economic benefits of wildlife-based tourism is changing people's attitudes towards conservation. For example, when fully included, indigenous people and local communities are the best protectors of the wildlife, and in turn, your business. We take a look at a public-private community partnership model, guerrilla tourism in Rwanda. It's one of conservation's greatest success stories. Sorry, we're meant to have another picture there. Okay, looks like we're stuck with that picture. There we go. After the civil war, the Rwandan government worked with the public sector, with local communities and conservation organisations to market their country as a safe and desirable destination for tourists. The collaboration focused on delivering high-end tourism whilst driving conservation of their biggest natural assets, the mountain gorillas. The model has used tourism to reduce poverty by creating employment within the local communities. 10% of tourism revenue has gone back into funding schools and healthcare facilities in these communities. Pre-COVID, the tourism sector in Rwanda had one of the fastest growth rates in the world, and the mountain gorilla population is growing. With more and more travellers motivated to experience nature and beautiful places, a wildlife-based tourism is big business, supporting over 22 million jobs worldwide. Yet the natural assets it depends upon are in steep decline. To put this into context, in the last 20 years, we have lost wildlife habitats over 20 times the size of Portugal. One of the biggest threats to wildlife, and in turn wildlife-based tourism, is the illegal wildlife trade. It's the fourth largest transnational organised crime in the world. It's up there with narcotics, guns and human trafficking, with revenues upward of $23 billion a year. Besides driving many endangered species towards extinction, the trade strengthens criminal networks and undermines national security. Research shows that wildlife-based tourism is 5 times more lucrative than the illegal wildlife trade. A single living elephant is worth over $1.6 million over its lifetime because of its tourism draw, compared to around $21,000 for a poached elephant for its ivory. The tourism industry facilitates the illicit movement of the illegal wildlife trade and the sale of wildlife products, often unwittingly. It can also play a key role in helping to tackle the illegal wildlife trade, as reflected in the WTTC Buenos Aires Declaration. Wildlife-based tourism that is sustainable and well managed plays an important part in supporting conservation and provides a revenue stream through park and guiding fees and accommodation to help pay for rangers and other conservation efforts. Rangers play a critical role in patrolling and disrupting landscapes to protect the wildlife. It's often impossible for them to monitor such vast areas by themselves, and the mere presence of tourists can play an important role in providing an extra set of eyes and ears on the ground. The lack of tourist dollars through the pandemic has led to many rangers losing their jobs or having significant salary cuts. The knock-on effect of this is huge, as one ranger in Africa may support up to 16 family members. We have recently launched my non-profit, How Many Elephants, World Female Ranger Day, as a platform to support all female and mixed ranger teams spotlighting Africa this year. An integrated approach is needed. Travel organisations need to be partnering with conservation NGOs, who in many cases already have very established relationships on the ground. Just last week, the IUCN World Conservation Congress in France recognised the need to focus on sustainable tourism as a key conservation tool. We are the problem, but we can be part of the solution too. Here are 3 ways you can make a difference. Educate your staff and customers about conservation and the illegal wildlife trade in the areas that you operate. Make long-term investments rather than funding short-term projects. Also, be transparent about the way that your business is giving back. Partner with conservation NGOs. It can be overwhelming to figure out where to start. How Many Elephants we invite long-term strategic and global partnerships in line with the UN SDG number 17, partnerships. To make a difference today, please come and visit our How Many Elephants exhibition outside. We have 192 elephants on display. This is how many elephants have been poached in Africa during this 2-day forum. My campaign visualises data in a 100% non-gory, non-gruesome, non-political way. We want to turn the entire herd around this evening. You can help us achieve this by making a minimum donation of €10 to turn one elephant around. All proceeds will support female rangers on the front line. To conclude, I would like to thank A World for Travel for recognising that tourism and conservation need to work together for mutual benefit. 2 weeks ago, President Macron of France said there is no vaccine for a sick planet. I agree, there is no single jab. However, there is a course of treatment, and both the travel and conservation industries are an important part of this. Thank you.